I'm Dan, and this is 10,000 Hours of Indie, a podcast exploring new music and delving deeper into what goes on in the background of the independent music industry. I'm a musician and passionate music lover, and I wanted to delve deeper into new music in the independent scene around the world. I also saw this as a chance to help artists connect and share their stories, so if there's someone you hear and you want to find out more about, every podcast has links in the show description. Get involved, help this community grow, follow on the 10,000 Hours of Indie socials, you can find all the links in the show description. And also feel free to email me about anything music related, 10,000indie@gmail.com. I'm open to any ideas and love listening to your promos. Picky Livers are a slow electronic duo comprising Richard E. and Shane Talada. They describe themselves as a subterranean duo of sorts bred within despicable poetry brothels and sordid dives from the dark alcoves of leathery booths and within the sweetness of truffling hives. I'm really enjoying the debut EP, Doppelgang, and it seems like a good time to find out more about the duo. So I'm speaking to Richard. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, glad to be here.
What is a picky liver?
That's a great question. That was a phrase that Shane came up with, which at first I was violently opposed to. Didn't make any sense to me as a possible name for the project, but it really stuck in my mind and grew on me over the coming weeks, and now I love it. A picky liver is someone who takes time to work out what they really enjoy in life and really go for it.
It is a memorable band name. You know, there are some that it takes me ages and ages to remember. Who did you interview the other day? I can't remember their name. Hang on. But yeah. Picky Livers really sticks in the mind, so I think it's a great name.
Yeah, it's a winner, I think.
Personally, I have a real problem defining electronic subgenres. I know when I like something, basically. Can you whittle down sort of exactly what you consider this to be?
Probably not. Shane has been on the LA underground scene for probably the past 30 years and making music in different incarnations. He comes from an industrial background, but also new wave, dark wave, synth wave, all that kind of stuff. And I make electronic music as a side project to what I do with my wife and my other solo project. I've always been into electronic music, and I agree, it's kind of hard to pin down. With this project, we just felt free. A lot of the tracks were started by Shane, and I think a lot of them were experiments for tracks for him that didn't fit into the genres he was already working in. So these are the sounds that fell between the cracks, I would say, but that still really work well and do something. But I would say the whole project is not easily definable in terms of genres.
So you've got a lot of music going on. You have your own solo work under the guise Richard E. You're part of Annabelle Lee with your wife, and you compose soundtracks for film and stage as well. You're obviously a multi-instrumentalist, but where does the spark of an idea come for you?
Sometimes it's ideas from lyrics that spark a track, but a lot of the time it's wanting to create a sound and a mood. For the Richard E. project, it's a mix of putting down a set of guitar chords. I'm starting with a vibe on guitar, some of them are kind of post-punky kind of guitar sequences with some energy, and then building on that. Others, I will start with the drums and just getting something I'm happy with on the drums, and then finding a bass line, and then filling in keyboard chords or guitar chords, and building up an atmosphere that makes me want to write something cool.
Is guitar predominantly the instrument you write on? Because obviously you're in electronics, so guitar almost seems like an odd choice for an electronic-based musician.
Yeah, I'm better at guitar than I am at keyboards, but I do write on keyboards as well. But yeah, guitar, I started off my music career fronting an indie rock band, writing the songs, playing rhythm guitar and singing. So that's definitely where I'm most comfortable in creating songs, is often starting with the guitar. The work I do with Annabelle Lee, I play generally a classical nylon strum guitar and generally finger picking to create the atmospheres for that project. Also, a lot of sample use as well to create the atmospheres. It's a very moody, atmospheric project.
So you're now based in LA, having moved from the UK scene, which you knew very well. What would you say have you found the biggest differences between the two countries musically?
Well, LA is probably a special case because I find it to be a great melting pot of musical ideas, underground music scenes. I guess probably only a few major cities here that can rival it. So New York, I guess, maybe Chicago, San Francisco. But I think LA has a very vibrant scene from electronic music. There's always great illegal warehouse raves still going on here. A lot of venues for bands to play at. I enjoy going out to see bands here. I find it pretty easy to make friends and talk to people here. People are pretty open and relaxed when they're out and willing to talk to strangers. I find it very enjoyable music scene here. The scene I knew in London kind of grew up and had a great period and then started to fragment as more kind of commercial house music and other things kind of took over. And so the scene for me in London had started to kind of wind down and fragment. I had a great time there, but things became different and I was happy to try something new.
So let's talk about the Picky Livers EP, which came out on the 13th of March. What was the sort of initial idea for the project? You mentioned that Shane came to you with some sort of short snippets and things.
They were actually mostly finished tracks that he came to me with.
So what did you add to them then? What was the sort of process?
Generally, I add guitars and lyrics and vocals. I've put down the drum patterns, the keyboard sounds, the synth sounds, the melodies, and I will add guitars and vocals. There's one track on the EP, I Doppelganger, the last track, which was generated by me. I made all the electronics and the guitar sounds. I brought that one in, and Shane had a brilliant synth lines on top of it to really finish it off. But we just saw it as a collaboration. I think that was the thing. I could do guitars and vocals. He had all these great, indefinable electronic tracks that he really still wanted to do something with. And I thought they were great. I just really, I like the fact that they're indefinable. I found them very inspiring to work on.
Was he happy with everything you did, or were there a few times he sort of went, "Oh, I don't like that," or how was the feedback on things?
There's been maybe the odd thing where he said, try it this way, but generally he's been very happy with how things have turned out. It's been pretty easy and enjoyable to work on.
The lyrics in Endgame are sparse but pretty emotive. I guess the clue's in the title, but is that sort of a nod from you of what's going on in the world at the moment?
Yes, very much so. It's about saying your piece.
Was there anything that was challenging in the process of making the EP, or that didn't go to plan while you were making it?
I think the only challenging thing was coming up with good vocals for it. I wanted to do the tracks justice, and that's why there are some instrumentals on there, because I didn't feel I could come up with anything vocally that would actually help the track be great. So I just added guitars, and I guess I add the odd synth melody as well on some of those.
There's a lot of room for remixes in these tracks, which is something you yourself have done quite a lot recently. Was it at any stage in your mind to have somebody remix these?
No, actually. It may be quite challenging to do that because the tracks that Shane provides have all been recorded live. I guess maybe he had a BPM in mind, but they were all recorded live on analog synths. They weren't recorded into a music app like Logic Audio or any of the others, or Pro Tools or anything. So they aren't separated tracks recorded. It's all recorded as one thing. So I'm not even sure how easy it would be for anyone to try and remix these tracks. I guess nowadays you can separate tracks with the help of AI. I'll have to see if anyone shows any interest. We'll have to see what we can do.
So these 4 tracks have a very sort of 90s electro vibe going on, I would say. And certainly because I've listened to a fair amount of your solo material in the past as well, there's always quite a 90s vibe going on. Is that where your musical heart sits?
I guess, yeah. My first band was in the early 90s. My influences are probably more from the 70s, but including Kraftwerk and krautrock and that kind of thing. But yeah, I guess that's where my heart sits musically, yeah.
The cover art for the EP is quite interesting. For me, it looks like a picture of 2 androgynous red beings covered in colourful spots and stripes. Who came up with that, and was there any deeper thought behind it?
I came up with that. I like to dabble in art. I went to art college back in the day. I'm one of those art college rockers. And I started, it was created with the help of AI, that image. I started dabbling in it to see what I could see, what all the fuss was about and whether I could achieve anything that I would be happy with. And I've been having a pretty good time with it. You know, I think you can make work that is personal and interesting if you understand how to give the right prompts to the AI. And coming from an art background, I felt I understood how to give prompts that would produce images that don't necessarily scream, oh, this is AI. It just could be the product of a twisted mind anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I came up with that. There was this intention to create a pair of strange-looking pals, I guess.
Is it sort of a representation of the 2 of you musically for this project in a way?
Yeah, I would say it's strange and left field looking and I guess slightly ugly on the face of it, but there's something charming about it as well, I think.
You mentioned AI there and not being afraid to experiment with AI. Is that something you would consider doing musically as well?
I haven't considered it musically yet, no. Artistically, I'm enjoying it, and I will only publish things that I would be proud to have painted myself. So, I mean, you know, out of every 50 images I generate, I'll maybe choose one that really works. Musically, I have not considered using it yet. No, I've got enough stuff of my own that I want to get down that I haven't felt the need to use it.
You have your own label, Further Out Recordings, and have had for many years. What advantages and disadvantages would you say that brings you?
It brings you the freedom to release what you want when you want, but one lacks the financial backing to mount really big promotion campaigns or distribution. There's the freedom, but the lack of funds to really push a project. I've only used the label intermittently. I started it with my ex-music partner, Martin Christie, back in the 2000s when we were recording and releasing under the name of Solar Apple Quartet. And it was a way to release our own stuff. We pressed it up on vinyl, and I would visit 15 record stores in London personally and take the vinyl in there to distribute it. And then we got a distributor. It was a way to get noticed, and we were hoping that we would get picked up by a label, but that never came to pass before we disbanded. That's kind of still the case, I guess. It's me getting stuff out there to get noticed and hopefully get to a bigger level where we start making some money out of it.
Social media. You decided not to create separate social media accounts for this project, preferring to use your own socials that you already had existing. Why did you make that choice?
It's kind of seat of the pants stuff right now. I'm not ruling out making a Picky Livers social separately, but I guess I wanted at the moment for us to play off our existing fan bases and knowledge of some of our stuff already.
There's a few odd video shorts on Instagram to accompany some of the music clips. Is that a suggestion that there may be a full-length video to come, or was that more of you playing around with AI?
It is a suggestion that I have been playing around with AI, and I found a program that I'm very happy with that animates. All the images are created by me and then in one AI app and then transferred to another one to animate. I've been very happy with the results, and so I'm kind of working every day on bits, which will hopefully soon turn into full-length videos for at least a couple of the tracks.
How about live? Is this something you ever intend to be a live project, or is this purely just something you're messing about with in the background of all your other projects?
I've fantasized about us doing it live. Yeah. But I'm not sure if Shane could recreate those sounds that he recorded easily. And it would take that to be a demand for us to really take it live or take it seriously to do that. If there is a demand, I would be interested in doing it for sure.
I think it'd be great fun live to see what you're doing as well as hear it.
Yeah, I think we could have some fun visually as well as musically with it live. I think it would be interesting.
So the plan is to release more stuff. This wasn't just a one-off EP.
I've got a lot more tracks from Shane that got some work to do on. So yeah, I would love to keep it going forward. I love hanging out with Shane anyway. So any reason for us to keep collaborating would be great.
So other than Picky Livers, what else are you working on at the moment? Because you seem to have an enormous amount going on musically.
There's going to be the third Annabelle Lee album. We've recently found a new label who are excited about releasing that for us, called Independent Project Records, based up in the Bay Area. So we're excited about that. That will probably come out in the maybe winter time or into spring of next year. On the solo front, my Richard E. project, I've got a great band together and we're about to start rehearsals, and we did a couple of gigs last year, but now I'm working on new tracks for the solo album. Got some releases coming up. And yeah, I want to start gigging the band. I've got some amazing musicians involved. I've got a new drummer called Michael Jerome, who's played with John Cale in the past from the Velvet Underground. He's played with the British folk legend Richard Thompson. He's played with a band called Better Than Ezra. He currently plays for the band called The Third Mind, which are fantastic rock blues psychedelic outfits. I got to see them live a couple of weeks ago. They're amazing. I've got two world-class guitarists on board, Eric Clerks and John Dalton. And my bass player is a film star, James Duval, who played Frank the Rabbit in the film Donnie Darko. He was also in Independence Day and several films by Greg Araki, Doom Generation trilogy. He's a great guy, a big music head, a real sweetheart, and yeah, he's really good on the bass.
So what are you going to be doing in that? You're singing and playing keys, or?
I'm just singing, rhythm guitar on one or two tracks, but I'm free to just hug the microphone stand and sing on this project.
Are you a static stander, or are you a prance around the stage kind of guy?
I'll do a bit of both.
Have you found that local radio in the US is far more favourable towards sort of local artists and smaller artists than it ever was in the UK?
Absolutely. The college radio scene over here is pretty fab. It's very vibrant and very open to unknown music and kind of smaller and niche musics. Yeah, it's very cool. And I try and listen in to various stations now and then, and there's some really interesting shows. My album, my first solo album, actually got into the top 200 of the charts, of those college radio charts for 1 week. But I was pretty pleased about that.
So the final question, what music are you listening to at the moment that people may not be aware of and should take some time to check out?
Okay, there's a great band that I saw in Long Beach a few months ago called Space Face. They have a great sound. They're great performances. There's a bit of a Tame Impala kind of vibe, kind of modern psychedelia going on there, but a lot more as well. Their own thing going on. Great production, really interesting sounds and vocal melodies and stuff. And Space Face is kind of a Bowie reference as well, which is always cool.
Okay, so for people wishing to find out more about Picky Livers, check out the website of Richard E, which is musicbyricharde.com, where you'll find loads more musical info about all of his projects, and Richard E on Instagram and Facebook. The Picky Livers EP Doppelgang is streamable now via Bandcamp and all streaming platforms. Richard, thank you for your time.
Thank you. I would say on the Instagram and Facebook, Richard E Further Out is what to look for. It includes the label name, and there were too many Richard E's just there, so it made it stand out. But yeah, thank you for the interview.